TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome in. It is Friday the 20th of September. And my name is Scott Webb, and this is In the Batter's Box. So we'll be doing some baseball and then a little bit of football later on. Gave out football yesterday with the Jets. Football's been pretty good so far. In the NFL, let's see, NFL football, I'm 8-3, so that's not too bad. And college football, though, it's like 8-7 or something. Yeah, 8-7. So got to pick up the college football. So anyway, 10-6 in football total. So, you know, I know people know me a lot of times and I talk a lot of baseball, but we're pretty good at football over here too. So anyway, that being said, I had a plan for today and we're going to adjust that plan just a little bit because as lines change and numbers move around, you know, it creates opportunities. So we got breaking news. We got a play that's going to be added to the show tonight. That wasn't intended to be added, but you know, once you get a value to a certain spot, you know, you just got to play it. So the first one is sort of a play that looked good real early, and the lines moved a little bit, so maybe not as much value in it as it was before. But you know, these games, you know, when I come on at 6:15, some of these games start at 6:40 and stuff. So I want to get this one out there. This is the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the bet is the Cincinnati Reds. This is Martinez against Keller. The latest line that I show is 126. Earlier in the day, I think it was as low as 121, 123. So it's moved a little bit. My number on the game is 133. So I think there's small value here with Cincinnati. And this is one of those games where you just have to kind of go and say, well, do I really want to play this? Because it doesn't really matter. Pittsburgh wins or Cincinnati wins, both are out of the playoffs. So we'll see how it kind of plays out. But there was a lot that really made me think the Cincinnati side was not only the right side, but it was a bettable side. So let's kind of get into it for a second here. Let me pull up the numbers that tend to be on this side of the screen and then bring them back over here so I don't have to strain so hard to see them. So first thing is, I think there's a little value in the numbers, but Mitch Keller, Pirates pitcher, he's been pretty good all year. He's sort of hit, I don't want to say a rough patch because it's not really rough. He's almost running out of gas here. Hey, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. How you doing? Welcome in. I want to make sure I get the comments in here. Thank you for showing up today and being part of the show. But Keller, he's made 29 starts, 117. So you can't sit here and say that he's a bad pitcher because he's not. But over the last 28 days, his SOPS plus, you know, how he's going to control the opponent's offense, is a 152. So he's 52% worse than an average pitcher. So down the stretch here, the last 28 days, not been that good. And Martinez on the other side, he's been a long relief pitcher most of the season, so he's a little more fresh as a starter. He's a SOPS plus 73, so he's 27% better than an average pitcher. So he's doing really well. So I like the idea that you've got a total mismatch in perceived value of what these pitchers are, and I thought that was pretty good. And the other thing that came into play in this particular spot, because both of these teams, they've been 10-10 the last 20. They're 5-5 the last 10. So it's not like one of them is really running out. Pittsburgh was doing pretty bad there for a little while. Keller has average metrics. Martinez average metrics. Keller's still striking out guys. He's 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. So balls in play kind of have an edge to Pittsburgh's side there. The difference, though, is Keller's in the worst 25% in terms of allowing home runs, 1.69 home runs per 9 innings. His batting average against is 309. I mean, that's not good for, basically your number 2 starter. And his whip rate, guys on base, 1.5 per inning. So the Reds have some advantages there because it's 1.18 and 240 for Martinez. So it's harder. It's going to be harder for Pittsburgh to manufacture and score runs than it is for Cincinnati, even though Cincinnati might strike out more. Hard hit rate is 37.7, worst 25% of baseball for Keller, and it's only 26% for Martinez. So he's putting the ball in spots where they don't hit the ball solidly. So theoretically, you would think his WPA, win percent added, would be pretty good, and it's just better than average. It's 0.06 to the positive. Well, at least he's throwing more quality pitches than he is negative ones. Can look at it that way. And when you look at what Keller's at for the season, he's a positive 85. But for the last 28 days, you would think, okay, it's going to be bad because his numbers aren't very good, and they're not. It's minus 23. And he's had 2 good starts, 2 decent starts in a row, 54-64. So I sort of expect this to be a bad situation for him. There is one caveat to this play is that a lot of times I don't like to bet a pitcher that's got really good starts back to back, right? Because a regression monster comes along, and that's kind of where Martinez is. He threw a 73 and an 83, but prior to that was a 51, 35, 43. So those outliers are bringing his average up, right? So I think you're sitting at a spot here with Martinez as a veteran pitcher. Not that Keller's not veteran; he's veteran, but Martinez has been around. Not only has he been around, but he pitched in foreign countries, so he's been around a lot, and I think is in a spot where one of the other things you can look at to see sort of how stuff works, right? We measure stuff. It's called Stuff Plus, and Keller's Stuff Plus is a 98. And it used to be much higher than that, so it's come down. He's pitching to a 99. His pitching plus is a 99. But to give you an idea, Martinez, his Stuff Plus is a 101, but he's pitching to a 105. So he's pitching way up. His stuff is really good, hence his game scores have been really good, and his outcomes have been really good. And similarly, opposite for Keller. He's starting to wear down, and you can see it. So I like that. And then when I started to look at the offense, I was like, well, if Cincinnati's hitting, then this makes a good spot. Well, I'm telling you to bet on them, so they must be hitting, right? So they are currently 8th in baseball in hitting, offensive WAR, and then 7th in isolated power. So they're getting done what they need to do. They're getting the damaging blows. They're getting on base. They're doing everything they need to do. They're scoring 5.2 runs a game, and Pittsburgh is scoring 2.4 runs a game. So this just sits up for me to say, hey, I know that the line changed a little bit, went against what I kind of went with what I was thinking. But I still think it's a good play at the number that it is. So if you can get in on Cincinnati, I think that's good. The other one, and remember, I don't like to. I shouldn't say that. Maybe I do like to do it. I was before I got on the show, I was looking through Twitter and different things and looking at information and stuff, and I saw this article I came across about this next game. This is the Toronto Blue Jays at the Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm going to tell you to take Toronto tonight. But this was a Sean Zerillo again guy that works for one of those companies out there. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he's all in on Tampa Bay, and he's all in on Tampa Bay because Barrios can't pitch on the road, according to him. So just be careful what you listen to. And I'm not telling you I know everything, but I do want you to understand kind of what you need to look at. So first of all, why do I like this game? Well, let me look at my number, and let's see what my number says, if I can get my number up. My number says Toronto minus 105. And the number on the game is now Toronto minus 115. So I guess Sean Zerillo is kind of missing the boat here because the market likes it, and I liked it this morning. When I first put it out, I think I gave this out to my guys at, I think it was minus 107. So it's minus 115 now for Toronto. So let's figure out why it's getting to that point. So first thing is we go back and we check out our pitchers and figure out situationally what the deal is. So the Toronto Blue Jays haven't been very good. They've underperformed all season. Theoretically, Barrios hasn't been his self either. I mean, his WAR rating is like just over 1 or just at 1, and he's normally a 2, at least a 2, and in some cases a 3 or 4 WAR kind of pitcher. So he's having his second worst season. Now, having said that, he's made 30 starts for the Toronto Blue Jays. In the 30 starts that he's made, the Toronto Blue Jays have won 21 times. So if the Blue Jays, let's pull this up a different way. If the Blue Jays, come on, man. There we go. Let's clear over there. I don't want to clear over there. I want it over here. So let's pull this one over here. I want to look at their record for 1 second. I think their Blue Jays record is something around 70-something wins. Blue Jays, 73 wins. So 73 wins. He's accounting for 21 of those wins. He's 28.7% of the wins for the entire Blue Jays team. How do you bet against that? I don't care if he's on the road or at home or where he's at. I mean, 28.7% to almost 29% of the time you win when he's on the mound. Shouldn't say that. 29% of your total wins as a team are when he's on the mound. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, you go out there and you win as much as he has. I think that's a critically important number that is being overlooked here. That's number one. So number two, they're facing Tyler Alexander. So Tyler Alexander periodically starts, but he's a bulk guy. They don't like him to start the game. He started 7 times. He's won 3 of them, lost 4 of them. The reason they don't like him to start the game is because they don't want him to go through the lineup and have to go through it the second time with the good hitters. So if you have your first, say, 4 guys come up and an opener come in and get those guys out, then you bring in Tyler Alexander. He then pitches, 5, 6, 7, and then he gets 8, 9, 1, right? So that now he's into the 3rd inning, and he still hasn't gone through the meat of the order until the 4th inning. And then if he can get through that, he gets the bottom half of the order for his second rotation time, and he won't ever get through the meat of the order a second time. And then they'll pull him out of the game. His stuff's not good enough. So he makes tons of mistakes. So it's not a normal process for him to pitch as a true starting pitcher. I mean, normally they have an opener for him. So if I break this across and I look at it, Barrios is a SOPS plus 93 on the season. That's pretty good. I mean, that's average. Average is 100, so he's a little better than average, 7%. But over his last 28 days, he's been dynamite. I mean, really, really good. He's a 43. In fact, that's the best one on the board today, 43. So he's 57% better than an average pitcher. And, Sean Zerillo said he's not as good as on the road, which is true. He's a 114 SOPS plus on the road and a 70 at home. But that doesn't matter if you're facing a pitcher that has a SOPS plus of 157 at home, which is what the Rays are matching him up against. And he's a 156 in his last 28 days and a 126 for the season. So he's 26% worse than an average pitcher overall, and he's 56% worse than an average pitcher in the last month. So I like the idea that you have a pitching mismatch with Barrios on the mound against Alexander. Alexander, though, I will say this: Alexander pitched good against. He pitched good against Tampa Bay. He pitched against them once earlier in the season, threw a game score 66 as a starter. That's his best start he had against them way back when. And Barrios, his xFIP numbers in the top 25% of baseball, 3.31. And his other metrics, Sierra and FIP, are in the average range, but almost in the top 25%. So he's done real well in his last 30 days. And on the other side, Alexander, 5.81 xFIP, 5.57 Sierra, 7.14 FIP numbers. So that really leads me to believe that Toronto has an advantage on the mound, but then they're going to have probably the advantage at the plate because the strikeout rate for Alexander is 4.15. Balls in play all over the place for Toronto. He don't strike anybody out. And his home run rate, 2.91. Remember, we just said it was not good for Keller at 1.69. Well, this is almost double that. So he's given up 3 home runs per 9 innings. So if he was going to pitch 3 innings or 9 innings tonight, there'd be 3 home runs. That's not a good spot. And his batting average against is 282. So you got guys on base, balls in play. He's a minus 53 WPA, so he makes way more mistakes than he does positive. There's all kinds of situations here that lead for Toronto's offense to have success. And on the other side, Barrios is a 189 batting average against and a whip rate of 0.83, both in the top 25% of all of baseball. Tampa Bay is going to have to work to get on base, and then they're going to have to work to get him in. He's a 0.69 positive, top 25% of all of baseball in the last 28 days in reference to his WPA. So I like it. I like everything about it. Everything is going the way that we want if you want to bet on Toronto. So then you got to pull up the offense and go, Toronto's scoring 4.3 runs a game, kind of average. They're 12th. So there's 30 teams, so it's just a little bit above average when it comes to offense. Tampa Bay, they're 16th in offense, so maybe they're scoring 4 runs a game too, but they're not. They're scoring 2.5 runs a game. There's a big difference there. So, like, Toronto scored 26 runs in the last 6 games to get to their 4.3. The Rays have scored 15. Same number of games, 15. So you can see a big difference in offense here. And if they've got to really, really work, then the reality becomes is there's a pitcher on the mound that's going to make them really work. And that's right up the pitcher's alley, not the batters. And on the other side, you've got an offense that's average to a little bit above against a below average pitcher that can get hit. So opportunity-wise is all over Toronto in this case. And, it's minus 115 now. I gave it out at minus 107, but I'm okay with it at 115. Anything in this realm, I think is good. So there's no issues there. I don't like Alexander in this role. I would prefer him to be coming in where he doesn't have to face the 1, 2, 3 guys a couple times. And he might have to do that tonight. So we'll see how it goes for Tampa Bay. So So I think you can look at Cincinnati. I think you can look at Tampa Bay and be pretty comfortable. Now here's the play that I didn't have planned, and that's just the way stuff happens. So let me pull up my numbers on this game, and then we'll get to the other numbers on this game. Come on, there you go. Computer's running a little slow right this minute. So this is Philadelphia and the Mets. I don't really want to get too involved in these games because, yes, to a certain degree, it matters to the Mets 100%. But to a certain degree, it matters, but not 100% to the Phillies. The Phillies are far enough in front that they're going to win the East. The only thing that they're playing for right now is to have a better record than the Dodgers so that they can be the number 1 seed, and then everything in the playoffs goes through their home stadium, which would be a big advantage for them with the colder weather and the good crowds jacked up to get that team fired up. That team seems to need that sometimes. But this is Sanchez, who's really been their second best pitcher for the whole season. Suarez was great, and then he got hurt, and then he hasn't really quite been the same. Nola, who should be their second best pitcher, he's been getting hit around a little bit lately, and they don't really have a fourth. They've been throwing Walker out there, and you can see what happens to Walker. I could probably go hit Walker at this point. So I think where we're at here is Sanchez is their second best pitcher, and he's going to face Peterson tonight. And if you remember me talking about Peterson and Manaea, they're the reason the Mets are where they are. And there's no question it's those two pitchers. And he's pitching tonight. It's a home game for the Mets. My number on this game is New York Mets minus 113. New York Mets minus 113. As it was this morning, it was New York Mets minus 110. So I'm like, okay, kind of makes sense. Not a whole lot of value here. Not really that interested in this game. Well, now there's been money that's come in on the Philadelphia side. Philadelphia's the favorite. Philadelphia is minus 112. So that means you can get the Mets at plus money, small plus money, 102, 103, whatever your book has got it at, when I think they should be the favorite in the game. So let's look at why I think they should be the favorite, and then can kind of make up your mind on kind of how you want to do it. But looking at this game, Sanchez has made 29 starts for the Phillies. He's 16-13. So yeah, it's good. He's won more games than he's lost. This I think is the first time he's really ever been counted on as a big pitcher kind of guy. And his WAR number is over 4. It's just under Wheeler as their second best pitcher. I mean, Wheeler's their best. And then Sanchez, in terms of results, numbers, wins above replacement. He's been good. Peterson's made 19 starts for the Mets. 19. They've won 14. They're 14-5. I can't bet against 14-5. So you're either Mets or nothing. And I was nothing until now. I can get the Mets at home with Peterson on the mound as a dog. I'm in. Peterson, he's a 79 SOPS plus in his last 28 days. Hey, Marty Lowe, how you doing, man? Welcome in. And Sanchez is an 81. So they're pretty even, which I kind of expected them to be even. They're both good pitchers. So that part of it doesn't surprise me. The Phillies are 13-7 in their last 20 games. So they're 6-4 in their last 10. So it's hard to bet against that. But yet the Mets are 16-4 in their last 20 games and 7-3 in their last 10. Both teams are playing very well. And you have two good quality pitchers on the mound. One of the things I was thinking about too was Marty's asking me a question. It says, who do you think get the wild card spots in the National League? Let me finish this and we'll answer that. So I think when you're looking at this, I was thinking about maybe an under in this game because I think you got two good pitchers. But it's number 7.5, and I just decided I didn't really want to go that route. I would rather have the dog. So in looking at this, and then I looked at the offense, and I was like, let me look at the offense. The Mets right now, they go through these spurts like this. They're the number one offense in baseball. Number one. That they're scoring 6.9 runs a game, 48 runs they've scored in the last 7 games. They're number 3 in isolated power, and they're the underdog. And they're going to face the Phillies, who are ranked 22nd in offense right now. So they go through those spells where they can't hit. They're scoring 3.6 runs a game. I think this is one of those spots where the numbers and things come out. It almost forces you to go, how can I not play the Mets as an underdog at home with a 14-5 starter on the mound? I don't care who they're playing. Give me the Mets. I mean, it's just that's the way it works. So it wasn't intended to be because there wasn't any value in it before, but now there's plenty of value. So I think you take the Mets. So there you go. Kind of how all that stuff shakes out. We've done that a couple times and have some real good success with some of those things. So to answer Marty's question about who I think will be in the National League in the wild card spots, I'm going to pull this up for 1 second here just to make sure I don't misspeak. But the wild card, and I don't know if you guys can see if I put this up here real well. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Maybe you can see a little bit of it. But these are the schedules I've already looked at for each team that was in the playoffs run and who they got left and kind of where this stuff was kind of aiming towards. And I did this, I think, yesterday. So looking at the numbers in the National League, the Dodgers are in, they've clinched. The Brewers are in, they've clinched. So Phillies haven't clinched yet, but they will. The Padres are 2 games ahead. The Diamondbacks and the Mets are tied. And then you have the Braves 2 games out. The Cubs are 6.5 games out. We're at 140, 154. There's 8 games left. So they're not going to catch them. So the Cubs are out. So it's only going to be Padres, Diamondbacks, Mets. 3 of those 4 teams are going to go in. So I was looking at this, and the Braves, they play 3 against Miami, 3 against the Mets, and then 3 against the Royals. Hey, Jay Barry, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Thanks. Says, have a great weekend. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend. Holy crap. Let's go. So I think that's pretty tough. Obviously not that tough right now with Miami, but then you got to go play the Mets, and then you got to play the Royals. The Mets, they have Philadelphia, Atlanta, and then Milwaukee. All 3 tough games, but Milwaukee's already won, and Milwaukee I don't think is going to be in a position here. Well, I guess they could, but I don't think so, where they're going for the top spot. So they can just coast. Milwaukee can just do whatever they want to do. Just get their lineup set up and be ready to go for the playoffs. Because I think the Dodgers and the Phillies are going to battle out to be who the number 1 seed is. They're both at 91 wins. This is an interesting season because there's going to be no 100-win teams. Not in the American League or in the National League, which is interesting. And then when I pulled up Arizona's playing Milwaukee now, and then they got San Francisco, which is they should be able to handle them, and then they end with San Diego. So I didn't think Arizona's was too tough. I thought Arizona probably was in kind of the catbird seat there. I think it's going to come down to Atlanta or Minnesota or the Mets missing. And my opinion is I don't think Atlanta's going to make it. So to answer the question, the way it sits today, now that might be a little different order, but the way it sits today is how I think it's going to end. I think the Braves missed, and then the Cubs and all those teams that are below the Cubs, Cardinals, Giants, Reds, they're all already out. So, Marty, I think that the way it'll go is exactly how you see it today. I think you're going to have the Dodgers win, the Phillies win, the Brewers already won. I think you're going to have Padres, Diamondbacks, and Mets. I don't think that the Braves are going to make it. They don't hit, and they're hitting kind of now, but it's been too little, too late. I think for the Mets, for the Braves, and that's kind of tough. I saw a thing about Ozzie Albies. Maybe he's getting ready to come back, but when he came back the last time, he didn't do a whole lot to jazz that team up and get them going. So I didn't think that was going to matter that much. I mean, it matters. It's better him playing than some of the other guys playing for them. So let's keep rolling here. I got what did we give out? We gave out the Reds. We gave out Toronto. I gave out the Mets. And in lieu of that, I'm going to give out one that's kind of an oddball play for me. This is the Arizona Diamondbacks against the Brewers. And my numbers tell me that you should be betting Brewers, but I don't want to bet Brewers. I actually bet Diamondbacks. So Diamondbacks is the play for me. Played them at minus 123. The number on that game now, where's Arizona? I think it's like 129. I think as long as you can stay under 130, you'll be okay. Then here's what's going on in that game. Zach Gallen is pitching for the Diamondbacks, and Zach Gallen hasn't been Zach Gallen, ace type Zach Gallen, basically all season until now. And the Brewers have had Colin Ray just help them all season long. But Colin Ray, he's an average pitcher at best, A, and B, I think he's dead arm tired. He hasn't pitched this many innings in a long. I don't know if he's ever pitched this many innings. I probably could look it up real fast, but the reality is Zach Gallen, even though he hasn't been ace type Zach Gallen, meaning that he's like a 4.5, 5 WAR kind of guy, Cy Young kind of pitcher. He's made 26 starts, and these guys are at 30 now, 31, 32. And he's at 26, so he's missed some. He's been hurt. Tried to force through it, but he's 16-10 still. So they've won more often than they've lost when he's been in there, and not by a little bit, by quite a bit, 16-10. But what I thought was great, his SOPS plus for the season's a 92. For a guy like him, maybe somewhere in the 70s would be normal for him. But so he's a little better than average, 8% for the season. But coming down the stretch where they really needed him, he's been really good. He's an SOPS plus 55. So controlling the opponent's offense has been really good, 45% better than an average pitcher. And that at this moment in time really means a lot because you need to win these games. And he's facing a guy in Colin Ray who's made 25 starts for the Brewers. And if you told me Colin Ray made 25 starts for the Brewers, I'd tell you he'd probably win 10, be 10-15, be that kind of guy. They've won 17. So they're 17-8 in Colin Ray starts. Then you're saying, well, Scott, every time you come across a guy like this, you're going, well, you can't bet against him. Well, you can if those starts are kind of petered out now, like he's done. And we'll get into that. So Colin Ray, 107 SOPS plus for the season. Remember, we said he's kind of an average guy. Well, he's actually a little worse than average at 107 for the whole season. And in his last 28 days, he's the worst pitcher on the board today, the worst one. He's a 187, so he's 87% worse than an average pitcher right now. That leads me to believe Arizona has a pitching edge matchup, and because he's so terrible on the mound, I'm certain they're going to have a good offensive matchup. So we'll look at that in a second. So then you kind of slide this out a little bit farther, and you look at it and you go, all right, well, both teams are 6-4 over the last 10. They're both kind of 500-ish over the last 20. And then when you look at them at a different level, you kind of micromanage it here. The metrics for Gallen, he's top 25% of baseball right now. 3.37 xFIP, 3.47 Sierra, 2.99 FIP. Really, really good numbers. Strikeout rate, 12.67. He's striking guys out again. So he's missing bats. They're not hitting him. His only problem right now is he does walk some guys. So he's putting guys on base. But his batting average against is only 167. So they're not getting on base by getting hits. So he might put a couple guys on base throughout this game. But I do expect him to get good strikeouts, and the Brewers will strike out. So I expect him to do pretty well on the mound. And then on the other side, Colin Ray is a 4.88, 4.54, and a 7.24 FIP number. So those are the worst 25% of baseball. So again, you got a mismatch, right? Top 25% of baseball versus the worst 25% of baseball. And remember, man, there's a lot of pitchers. And if you got 5, 6, 7 guys now times I don't know, 30 teams. So was that it's roughly 200 pitchers, and you're in the worst 25% of that? That's not very good. And that's where he's at. Strikeout rate is average. Walk rate is good. He's not walking guys. He's just giving up home run after home run after home run. 3.38 home runs per 9 innings. That's better than, worse than Alexander for Tampa Bay. His batting average against, 349. That's horrible. And guys on base, 1.71. That's terrible. So I expect Arizona to have a good day. It looks like they're going to have a feast out there. So we can get into it further. You can look at it and go, WPA for gallon is plus 0.76, top 25% of baseball. And Colin Ray's a minus 58, worst 25% of baseball. They're making way more mistakes than he is quality pitches. And then you can look at it too and go, over the last 3 starts, Gallen's a 63 in terms of his game score. So ace-like, that's what he's supposed to be doing. Over his last 7 starts, he's a 56, but his last time out was a 46. So that's an outlier. Outlier low. He should have a better score today to raise that up. He should have a good day. This is all adding up to big numbers for them. And then offensively, the Arizona Diamondbacks are 7th in baseball. So I think that says, yes, they can take advantage of this pitcher that they're going to face. They're scoring 5.4 runs a game. I think that's pretty good. Now, Milwaukee's 10th, but they're going to have to work to score runs off a gallon. There's a big difference. And I don't know what the lineup is. I didn't see it. I could probably look now. But I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing Milwaukee players being rested here and there throughout the rest of the season, because unless there's incentives that they need to hit as players, then there's no reason for them to be out there. You don't want to get them hurt. You don't want to get them damaged, right? They've already kind of won what they're going to win, so there's no point in going forward. So for Arizona, they're still trying to make it, and they're in that. They're in for now. I think they're going to be in. Like I said, I think the Braves are the team that's going to be out. But I say all this, and then they still got to go do it, and they're in a pretty good spot. So I liked that play. And then the last one that I had before I get into football, the last one I had was I wanted to talk to you about the White Sox and the Padres. The White Sox, historically bad team, historically bad. But they've got a great pitcher in Crochet. Like, Crochet is really good, and he's pitching today. But I looked it up, and I went back as far as the last time he pitched a decent amount of innings in a game. It was back in July, by the way. So I don't know if you know where Garrett Crochet came from. Garrett Crochet was a relief pitcher. This is 2020 in 2022. Made 54 54 appearances, and then he got hurt, so he missed most of 2023, and then 2024 they made him a starter. So he's never pitched this many innings. So they're on innings control with him. But they wanted him, and maybe it's all him because he sounds kind of like that. Remember the trade deadline came, and he was like, look, if you pick me, I want a new contract. I'm going to pitch the rest of the season as a starter. I'm not going to go in the bullpen, and it's going to be every 5th day, and we're going to do this and manage the innings a certain way. Well, the way they're managing the innings, he's pitched. Where's my notes? He has pitched his last 12 starts. The most he's ever thrown innings-wise in those starts is 4. So since July, he's thrown 4 innings max every time he's gone out there. Hey, Mr. Jenkins, long time, haven't seen you for a while. I'll answer your question in just a second. He's got a thought once on the Royals game. That almost made my list, by the way. So I'm looking at this game, and 2 things popped out at me. One, he's still pitching pretty well. When you look at his metrics are still as good as ever. His xFIP is 202, his Sierra 242, his FIP number 272, strikeouts 12.83 per 9 innings, walk rates 1.35. All of that's great. Where he's running into a little bit of problem, he's not getting as many outs as maybe he should. His batting average against is 278. His whip rate's 128. His hard hit rate's 37.1, so he's getting hit a little harder. And his mistakes are more, minus 0.27. So I sat there and I thought about this about how do you play this? Because in the first 5 innings, at least in the first 4 innings, maybe even the first 3 innings, he hasn't pitched, been his average number of innings that he's pitched in his last 5 games is 2.67 innings is about what he averaged. He's thrown in his last 5 games, he's thrown 13.1 innings, giving up 15 hits. So even though I said all that nice stuff about him, he's been getting hit. His SOPS plus is a 132 in his last 28 days. So you can see there's some wear on him. And the other thing that showed up was he is a very high pitcher plus guy. Got a lot of real high number. Well, it's only 103 now. Well, that's a high number. Don't get me wrong. 103 is a high number. But if it used to be 109 and now it's 103, he's lost quite a bit. So I think he's got arm fatigue. I think he's got trouble. So that was number one when I started looking at this. And then I'm like, okay, well, then, if he's only going to pitch a couple innings, say he pitches 3, maybe pitches 4 at the most, and then you got the bullpen. So then I'm like, well, what do we got going on the other side? We all know how bad the White Sox are, but do we really know why they're so bad? Well, A, they don't have good pitchers. B, they don't hit. Their offense for the White Sox, they rank 20th in offense right now. They're scoring 3.7 runs a game, which is quite high for them, to be honest. But 20th is not good when there's 30 teams and you're trying to be number 1. That's pretty far away. So I'm not really worried about their offense. Quite frankly, I'm not worried about their offense at all, and especially because Musgrove is on the mound for the Padres. So at the beginning of the year, Musgrave was coming back from an injury, and then he wasn't pitched well. Then he went on the disabled list again, and he was just a mess. All kinds of bad stuff. That's all fixed. Musgrove is pitching really well. He's a SOPS plus 57 in his last 28 days. Doing extremely well. He's pitched 29 innings, 22 hits. That's pretty good. I'll take that. And when it comes to his metrics, he's in the top 25% of baseball. 305, 283, 263. Those are his metrics. It's all good. Strikeout rate's 10.74. So even though Crochet can strike guys out, he's not going to be in the game that long. And San Diego's pitchers can go do it. He don't walk anybody. Batting average against is 202. His whip rate's 8.89, so less than a guy getting on base per inning. It's just one of those spots where you sit here and go, the matchup matters. And because he's so good and the White Sox aren't very good, he can shut them down to scoring hardly any runs, if any. Maybe they score 1. Maybe they score 2. That's it. So think about that, 1 or 2 runs. What's the total in this game? the total in this game. If I can get over to the total, why is this doing this to me? There we go. The total in this game, come on, man. Go there. The total is 7. So if they score 2, the White Sox score 5. So that puts the run line in play, and I think that's where you want to go here. You want to go -1.5, -114 is the number that I saw and gave out. So I think, and then just to kind of further the point, when you looked at the offense, right, for San Diego, they currently rank 6th in offense, scoring 4.5 runs a game. All they got to do is score 5, and if they score 5, they probably cover this game. And then my score predictor number, they score 6.5. So I've got it 6.5 to 3 is what my score predictor says. So it likes the idea that they're going to hit Crochet too, and have a first 5 win. But I kind of preferred it this way. It gives them more time to hit and get more runs because, Manny Machado is going to have to come up in one of those spots and do something good. And Merrill will do well. And, it's a good spot for San Diego. So the question is, what are your thoughts about the Royals game? So here's my thoughts. Royals. I like the Royals in a sense that they're facing the Giants. When I was just in my head thinking about the matchup before I looked at the numbers, Waka I knew was going to be good. He's actually a game score 54 for this season, and in his last 7 starts, he's a game score 60, almost 61. So he's been really good, ace-like for the last 7 starts. And he's going to face a pitcher in San Francisco that I knew has been struggling. He's a young kid. His game score numbers, his last 3 is game score 40, 42, and 56. So look at those 3 numbers. He averages 46. So he's not very good. But metrics and kind of looking at the details kind of surprised me a little bit because his name is Black, and 378 is his xFIP. 367 was the Sierra number. And just in comparison, that's average. But in comparison, Waka's a 407, 376. They're worse. So, but not by much. I mean, they're kind of right there. Both of them have 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Both of them don't walk anybody. Black has a home run problem. He gives up 2 home runs per 9 innings, and he's got a batting average against of 286. Waka's is a 250. So Waka's average and Black is not. Waka is .63 in WPA, so it means he doesn't make mistakes. Black is a -22. So you got differences here that really add up to the Royal side. So then you sit there and you go, okay, let me look at the offense for a second, which was one of the things that kind of turned me on to the game. San Francisco's offense currently ranks 29th out of 30 teams. That's not very good, 29 out of 30. And when it comes to the isolated power, they're 26th. The Royals are 11th, so much, much better. They're not top 10, but they're much, much better. They're not scoring quite as much as you'd like them to be, but I still think that, and the reason I say it's on my head that the way you play this is you play the Royals on the run line, and because the line in the game, where's Kansas City's number? They're -187 and -192 at bookmakers, so we'll say they're -190. I'm not paying 190. The value is not there for -190. My number in this game was Kansas City minus 188 was minus 155 is all. So I see this as can Kansas City capitalize? They need to win because they didn't do so good against the Tigers. So they're in these bad spots now. They got to win. So this is a winnable game. They're at home, and the San Francisco Giants are hapless unless the Snell pitches. So if the Royals can skip Snell and they get this guy and Birdsong and some of these other guys that they throw out there, I think the Royals can win the series. But I think the better way to play it is on the run line. You get a better bang for your pop there. Don't I have that down somewhere? I guess maybe I don't. Let me see what that number looks like. Come on, there we go. Looks like the Reds scored first. That's not too bad, seeing how we gave out the Reds, right? So spreads. Let's see. What does it say? Royals. So Royals are minus 1.5 plus 105 at circa minus 1.5 plus 100 at bookmaker. So I think that's probably your better value, other than going out and playing minus 190. I don't think that I would do that because theoretically you could lose this game. I don't think you will, but there's the possibility of that. But so why would I tell you to bet the other way? Well, because the offense for San Francisco sucks, and they're 29th out of 30th teams. You got an edge there, and you got a veteran on the mound against a kid. So so I think that Kansas City absolutely has to have this game. Thinking back on Kansas City and where they are in regards to the results now, they could have done some things at the trading deadline and brought in a bat or two. They could have. They went for another starting pitcher, which was Lorenzen. I didn't get that move. I liked, and they got a bullpen problem, right? But I liked the Erstad coming over from the A's, but they didn't do enough. You did a little. If you did a little more, I mean, I get it. They didn't think that Pasquantino was going to get hurt, but at the same time, Pasquantino, he's a 230 hitter that maybe hits 20 home runs. So he's one of those guys that provides stature because of how big he is and stuff like that. But I don't think they did the right thing at the trade deadline. They should have brought in bigger impact as much as they can hitters, and made some trades and do some different things. And maybe they just didn't have the assets. Maybe they didn't have the money. Maybe they didn't have whatever. But it didn't take a whole lot. And the Detroit Tigers are catching them. That's the problem. So anyway, that all being said, to answer your question about the Royals, I do think that the run line's the best way to go. Says, excellent show as always. Thanks. Awesome for the breakdown. Hey, no problem. Look, guys, I break these things down every day. I just don't go over every one of them because not every game is going to have value and so forth. So, it is what it is. So anyway, that was quite a few. It's getting kind of hard. It's not every day you come across opportunities to make bets in baseball anymore. But we're getting to where we're going to have some fun in the playoffs and some stuff like that. So a lot more fun stuff coming up. So just so you know, so there's a bet I like to make in the playoffs. I don't make it any other time, but in the playoffs, and it's over under runs plus hits plus errors. So I'll be making some of those bets, and the way that bet works. It's just a total number. They'll put a number out there and say, the Yankees are playing, I don't know, the Astros or somebody, and the total runs plus hits plus errors are going to be 29 or 30 or 32 or whatever the number is. So there's some division and math involved, but think about it this way: it takes two hits to score one run. So when the total comes out in a game, let's just say the total is 8. Make math easy. So the total is 8. So there's 8 runs. So now you'd have to have 16 hits to generate those 8 runs. So now you're sitting at 24 runs plus hits. And then you got to think about errors. Well, how many errors are they going to make? Well, it depends on what that number looks like. Sometimes that they think the pitcher is going to be real dominant and not have very many hits, stuff like that. But you can go and find weakness in lines by trying to figure out that number as opposed to, say, a total. And it's the same concept, and I will do that, right? Those are bets that I think are specific. You run into other problems that you can be more reliable on too when it comes to it's more reliable to come to because the bullpens are so dominant in those games that you can reduce the number of hits and runs and stuff. So we'll see how it all breaks down. But I just kind of giving you a heads up. Runs plus hits plus errors will be bets that I make in the playoffs and series bets and all kinds of different things when it comes to that. So let's get into a little bit of football here. So tonight we have, and I'm going to preface this a couple of ways. So last night we had a college football game. We had a pro football game. The pro football game, I gave it out. And here's a little tip to pro football. Injury clusters are a significant, important factor to look at. And last night, the offensive line for the New England Patriots was a cluster injury. They had 2 guys starting that were rookies, and one was a left tackle, and they gave up 7 sacks. So they generated 100 and I think it was 20-something yards of total offense for the entire game. But if you really peel back the onion of that, you have the last drive when May was in there at quarterback. He moved the ball, 30, 35 yards, whatever it was. They didn't score. But that's what put them over 100. So just think about that, right? So that's how anemic the offense was. So handicapping the pro football games, you must really look at injury clusters, not just one guy, but a cluster of injuries. The Rams, we were on Arizona, and boy, the Rams offensive line just got obliterated by what the Arizona could do. So you look at certain things in certain games, and this week I haven't totally made. I've got a list of what I'm thinking I'm going to do, but I want to clarify some more injuries, some different things that come out. But one of the situations I'm looking at is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've got 2 defensive linemen out, and they already had 4 defensive backs out. And I get it; they're playing the Denver Broncos. But at some point, you sit here and go, they're not as deep anymore. The talent's not as good anymore. And the edge that you thought you had isn't there anymore. So you watch the numbers and then you see where things are going and you kind of look at it and you go, Denver becomes a pretty good side. I haven't bet it. And don't take this as I'm going to bet it because I could wake up tomorrow morning and hear news that, this guy's going to play and this is going to happen and not even bet the game at all. But my point being is the NFL is all about matchups and who's playing. And if it's cluster injuries, you can really look at certain things to help you. College football is a little different. I'm like 500 in college football. I've had some good success and some bad. Last week I was really good at actually getting favorites that were big favorites to cover numbers. So I'm not opposed to betting big numbers, and I've already bet several of those. So tonight, I'll preface this by saying this. Last night you had South Alabama play Appalachian State. And this is where numbers come into play. So the market on that was -7 for Appalachian State for a while. I don't remember what it kicked off at because I didn't bet the game. And then the numbers that I'm using had -11.5. Kenny White's number was 11.5 that Appalachian State was the favorite. So how do you vet that? I mean, how do you go verify that that's a good number or not? Because the market says it's not. The market says -7 is a better number. So there's got to be a reason why South Alabama, the market said it was better than Kenny White's number, right? So one of the things and there's two ways to do this, and one of the things that I do, and now I've got a little bit better data point, so hopefully this week will be a better number. I just tested it last night without pulling the trigger. So the test is I was going to bet South Alabama last night. Well, it's easy to say now because South Alabama went and scored down 49 points, and Appalachian State looked ridiculous. But where did I come up with that? Well, there's EP. We've talked about this on this show, EPA, right? So extra points added. So it's like WPA for pitchers. Pitchers go and they you add up all their good stuff that they throw and get outs and put the ball in the right place, quality pitches. You add all those up. Then you add up all the minuses, the negative ones, and then you subtract them out. And one's going to be a positive number or a negative number. You want positive number, right? Because you want to make more quality pitches than you do bad ones, so that you can get positive winning percent added. That's what it's about. Well, EPA is about extra points added, same concept, except it's football. So every play has a quantitative value to either gaining a first down or scoring points. And the closer you get to the goal line and or you make a first down, you get quantitative value for that. Or you don't, right? If you don't make it, you don't get there. So EPA is an important thing. So college football, I think that's one of my favorite metrics is measuring them based off of how they do on EPA and secondly, success rate. So if I pull up that game, I'm looking at South Alabama, adjusted EPA per play is 0.3. So it's positive. It's a good number. And Appalachian State is minus 0.16. So that's not very good. And then you can also look at it for yards per play. And the yards per play edge was also South Alabama, 2.11 to negative 0.57. So that tells me, and even looking at the margin difference between the two, that South Alabama was probably even the better team. And of course, they went out and won the game. So tonight, in tonight's game, you have Stanford and Syracuse, and Stanford is a minus 0.3 EPA and a yards per play of 0. And they play Syracuse, who is a 0.18 positive EPA. So big difference there. And then you have a 0.58 yards per play edge. So a little edge. And the number was minus 8.5 for a while. I got it at minus 8. So I gave it out at minus 8. I think it's minus 9 now. But I played this game at minus 8 for Syracuse tonight. And Kenny's number was minus 15. So I was looking for anything basically under 10. If I could get it to 9.5, I was going to play it. And now I got it at 8. I'm really happy with that number. So that's what I'm looking for in college football. There was a spot where I know Brad Powers and some of these other guys, they really like San Jose State tonight. And that number, when it originally came out, was 14.5. And that might be a decent number. San Jose State's got an edge on EPA and yards per play too over Washington State. But and this is kind of what you got to look at with college football that you don't have to with the NFL as much. Washington State just beat Washington. Emotional high. They go to school. They go to campus. They're big rock stars for the whole week. And now they get lowly San Jose State. They might win this game, but I don't know that they win this game by margin. But if this game, and let me pull up the number right now, but the game at 12.5 or 12, where's the number at now? So it's back to 13 at circa. You need 14 points to play this game, my opinion, because 14.5 was available. Sleep at the wheel, didn't get it. Now it's went down to 12.5. It's kind of creeping back up to 13. It needs to get to 14 before you can play this game. So I passed on that one. But I think data point wise, numbers wise, I think that's the right thing to do, right? So you've got an edge on the line because of your numbers versus what the market number is to a certain degree, and then you've got your EPA numbers and your yards per play numbers edges. So let me give you some of the stuff that I've done for Saturday. I don't know if I gave this out already, but I played Louisville -10, and Louisville, if I can get to where my numbers are, Kenny White's numbers on Louisville, by the way, are -14. And so I was like, if I can get 10 or less, I'm happy. And it was 10.5, and I finally got it at 10, so I bet it. And then EPA-wise, they are 0.48, and Georgia Tech's 0.17. So they're double ahead of where they are. And then yards per play, 4.98 yards, and Georgia Tech's 2.21. So they're double the metrics. So I'm happy with the play. I'm happy with the bet. I'm good with it at -10. When it comes to another bet I made was Missouri. I bet Missouri. I got them at 19.5. And what's the number on that game right now? Come on. There we go. Let me flip this over to college football so that I can get you the right numbers. Football. Come on. College football. I got it 19.5. I was trying to get anything under 20. Missouri is I gotta find it on all these games. So Missouri is -20. So I think 20 is the max. You can't bet more than 20. So if you can get 19.5, great. If it's 20, then it's 20. But the issue came down with this game is where's Missouri? And this game is down here. Missouri, that's Mississippi, Missouri. So Kenny's number was 21.5. So that's why I say 20 is probably okay. I got it at 19.5. But Vanderbilt is -0.2 EPA. And they are plus 0.46 yards per play. So there's a little bit of an edge yards per play wise, but EPA wise, they're about even. A little bit, actually not. They're a little bit less. Where Missouri is 0.71. That's a big number EPA wise. Anytime that you're close to 1 or above 1, you're in good shape. And then they're 2.11 yards per play better. So I think that's a pretty big number. I liked it. I liked Missouri. I think Vanderbilt's getting credit for what they did the first couple of games. I think Missouri goes and wipes them out. So I liked Missouri. I wasn't afraid of the big number there. I'm not afraid of the LSU number either, but it's kind of backfired on me a little. I bet that game early at 23.5. That number is like 22 now for LSU. So let me get to that number metric-wise. So LSU is 0.4 to the positive on EPA and 1.79 to the positive on yards per play. And UCLA is -0.22 which is getting to be in the bottom end of all of college football. That's not very good. And they are one of these teams I equate to as like Purdue. So we talked about this a couple of days ago. When you make an adjustment to a team, like UCLA power ranking number was X, maybe it's 75. I'm making up a number. Based on their performance against Hawaii, based on their performance against Indiana, Indiana went and beat them by, 28 points or something like that? Well, is Indiana better than LSU? Is LSU the same as Indiana? I think LSU can go name their number. It's at home. It's against UCLA. They're not going to be ready to play. So I like the number. So I didn't get the number as to where it was right now. College football. Where's LSU? It's minus 21. You can get them at 21 now. So I think that's just an auto play. And then I played Miami of Ohio and Notre Dame over 43.5. I almost think that Notre Dame is going to score that many points by themselves. So as long as Miami can get 10, I think this is going to be one of those spots where they get, they blow them out. And I know Notre Dame's hurt. I know they're hurt at a lot of spots, but I think they're an angry football team. I think that, this is not a test for them. I think they're just going to go run the ball right down their throat is what I think will happen. And I think that they're going to get way ahead early. And I think that Miami, Ohio is going to have a hard time scoring. And I think you'll see a pretty good effort from Notre Dame. So over 43.5 was my play there. And then I made a couple bets today. I like Fresno State. Fresno State, I got them at minus 13. They play New Mexico State. And then I made a bet on Louisiana Lafayette, or just Louisiana. I'm taking those guys +2, Louisiana +2. So those are the only games I bet so far. Now, I will tell you that I'm probably going to do some more stuff tomorrow. I'm looking at really one of the games I'm kind of looking at and probably will bet USC. I'm going to bet USC. I just want to see where the number lies. It's 4.5, 5. I was just hoping to see if I could get it to 4. If it gets to 4, I'll play it at 4. And that's really, to be honest, that's probably the only one I'm waiting on. I'm not playing the Oklahoma-Tennessee game. I think there's a lot of reason in the world why your old school guys are betting Oklahoma +7. But I'm not going to follow suit with that. But I will play the USC Michigan game, but I'm going to be on the USC side. I think the idea here is that Sharon Moore, the coach for Michigan, and Orji now going to be the quarterback. They're going to be a one-dimensional team. I think they're going to have a hard time, and I think Lincoln Riley can game plan and do all kinds of different stuff and just go right down the field. Even though Michigan's got a decent defense, I think, and this is just one of those spots. You saw what Texas did. I'm not saying USC's Texas on offense, but they're pretty good. So I think you can take that and go, yeah, USC's probably the right side. So in terms of that, that's where I'm sitting on a Friday night. In terms of any NFL stuff, like I said, I'm kind of waiting on some things. My notes, where's my notes? Right now I'm thinking about I got to relook at some stuff because, I like the Chicago Bears. I'm not sure if that's the right side, so I'm going to dig into that a little deeper. I kind of like Cleveland, but I don't know if I'm going to bet it. I know there's other people that like the Giants, so I'm not worried what other people do. I bet what I bet. I'm liking New Orleans, but I'm not in those spots yet where I'm ready to go and say this is what I want to do. So anyway, guys, we got 130 people on the show tonight. It's pretty good. It's Friday night. Let's see if we can win. Do we got any games going on right now? What's the score in some of these games? Are we winning anything? I gave out the Reds, right? They're ahead 5-0. That's pretty good. I gave out the Mets. That was the extra one. They had 2-0. That's pretty good. And that's the only two so far, right? 640, 650. Yep. So the other games haven't. What was the other game? Oh, Barrios. That game's 0-0. So see how these games play out. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. See you about tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. I don't think I'm going to be on. Like I said, I'm only waiting on one other football game. If stuff comes popping off that I got like 5 or 6 plays for Saturday for a baseball, then I'll run out and do a show. But the way it's not been quite like that. So we'll see. All right, guys, thanks for coming on board. Like I said, if you follow me on Twitter, that'd be great. See the stuff I put out there. I'm going to trying to be a little more active on some of that stuff. I think that my Twitter feed is getting a little stale, so we'll fix that up a little bit. And then secondly, go to the website, mlb-data.com, sign up to be a member. It costs you $100. And that goes for a full season. You get all the plays, you get all the information, you get everything I got. So anyway, guys, have a great night, and let's see if we can bring home some money. Talk to you later.